Hey guys, welcome to the OSCE Station. If you like this video, please subscribe, like or leave a comment below. Today we discuss the humble appendix. Do we need it? And if we don't, why do we still have it? This seemingly simple and harmless organ always teases us with the possibility of appendicitis, which is an inflammation of the appendix which can be life-threatening if left untreated. Having said that, the appendix has long been touted to serve no real function in humans, so sometimes surgeons will even remove the appendix if there's no other clear-cut cause for the pain identified, even if it looks normal. But that view has changed in recent years. New discoveries and new evidence have led surgeons and medical professionals to reassess the role of the appendix. Some experts believe it has an important role to play in our immune system, while others suggest a more sinister role. For years, medical professionals believed the appendix was nothing more than a mere vestigial organ. That is, it served a functional purpose in our evolutionary ancestors, but has long since lost that role and become redundant, like goosebumps, for example, which made our ancestors appear larger and more intimidating, but are now redundant in the era of the full body wax, and mullets as well. Similarly, scientists hypothesized that the appendix played a crucial role to aid digestion in our leaf-noshing ancestors, specifically cellulose, which makes up plant cell walls. This theory is supported by the fact that some purely herbivorous animals, like the koala bear for example, have really huge appendixes. We probably lost the role of the appendix when we started using heat to cook food, as heat also helps to break down plant matter and help in the release of micronutrients. Charles Darwin hypothesized that we used to have a large cecum, which is a part of the large intestine, which used to store a special type of gut bacteria which was helpful in breaking down plant matter. And as our ancestors began to move towards eating more digestible foods such as fruit and using heat to cook, our cecum began to shrink. The appendix, he wagered, was part of the cecum that shriveled to uselessness. Today, the appendix, a small worm-like structure, loafs about in your abdomen, freeloading at the junction of the small and large intestine. We pay little to no attention to this structure unless, of course, it becomes inflamed and causes problems due to a blockage or infection. Seeing as everyone thinks the appendix is useless, the simple fix to sort this problem out is to remove the appendix via a simple procedure known as an appendicectomy, which nowadays is often done as a keyhole procedure. So, if it's not useful, why do we still have it, and why haven't we evolved to get rid of it? Good question. Professor Heather Smith and her international research team gathered data on the presence or absence of the appendix and other gastrointestinal and environmental traits of 533 mammalian species. They then mapped this data onto a genetic tree to see how the appendix has evolved, and to try and determine why some species have an appendix while others simply don't. They discovered that the appendix evolved independently in several mammalian lineages over 30 separate times, and once it appears in a lineage, it almost never disappears. The stubbornness of the appendix appearing in all these mammalian lineages suggests that it may have an adaptive purpose. The researchers looked at various ecological factors, including habitat, diet, climate, and social behaviors. They found that species that had an appendix had higher concentrations of immune tissue or lymphoid tissue, which suggests that the appendix may play an important secondary role as an immune organ. Lymphatic tissue can also stimulate the growth of some types of good bacteria, providing further evidence that the appendix may serve as a storehouse for beneficial gut bacteria. This holds true for humans as well. A microscopic analysis of the appendix reveals a host of immune cells, including T cells, B cells, and natural killer cells, all of which are part of your body's immune response. So, before basic cooking and hygiene was developed, humans would commonly eat food which is rotten or gone off, and this would subsequently cause all sorts of illness and commonly diarrhea. The gut can't determine between good and bad bacteria, so it would then purge the system with a bout of diarrhea. During this time, the appendix houses good bacteria like an intestinal Noah's Ark. Once the inner flooding has subsided, the good bacteria go forth to repopulate the gut and to prevent pathogenic bacteria from colonizing the intestines. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. I'm not sure this is strictly true of those who have suffered at the hands of the appendix. A study published in 2015 suggested that people who suffered a bacterial infection, Clostridium difficile, were 4 times as likely to develop a severe infection if they didn't have an appendix as opposed to if they did. Now, this study on its own does not prove that the appendix prevents infections, but it does raise important questions about whether surgeons should remove a normal-looking appendix. But having said that, appendicitis can be life-threatening, so if it needs to come out, it's coming out. Now, people in developed countries don't really have to worry about those sort of viral and bacterial infections that are commonly associated with developing countries. So if we don't really use our appendix for that purpose, why do we still have it? Well, interestingly enough, there's another hypothesis, and it turns out it's very similar to the reason we get allergies. In our modern, super squeaky clean hygienic society, we are rarely exposed to dangerous pathogens or allergens. So when our immune system does get challenged, it overreacts, the so-called hygiene hypothesis. In the case of an overactive immune system, the appendix can become inflamed. Exposure to pathogens and infectious agents like bacteria, viruses and parasites are important to the normal developmental process of the immune system, so it gets stronger. Without this exposure, development of the immune system can be suppressed, and this can result in hypersensitivity of the immune system. The appendix probably had an important role in our ancestors when we were hunter-gatherers. Its role became obsolete as we started to adhere to basic cooking and hygiene principles. Now its primary role is supporting the immune system and protecting the health of the intestines, and also causing lots of people problems. Interestingly, a new population-based research study from Sweden found that the appendix also houses Lewy bodies. Lewy bodies are abnormal protein deposits found in the brain in patients who suffer from Parkinson's disease. This study suggested that having an appendicectomy or removing the appendix can actually lower one's risks of Parkinson's disease. There is also inconsistent evidence in the literature to suggest that removing the appendix can protect against ulcerative colitis, a type of autoimmune inflammatory bowel disease. However, all these studies have serious flaws and limitations, and we really are at the tip of the iceberg in terms of understanding the role the gut microbiome plays in disease manifestation. So I wouldn't rush to your doctors just yet and demand that they remove your appendix, not just yet. Even if the above theories are correct, people still live long and fruitful lives without an appendix. The real question that needs further research is that does the benefits of keeping your appendix outweigh the risks of removing it? Should the appendix stay or should it go? The answer, according to science, seems to suggest that if it goes, there may be trouble, but if it stays, it may be double. So to summarize, the appendix is like one of those friends that we all have who's a nice guy and tries to help, but more often than not, just ends up making things worse.